Good evening. I would like to welcome everyone to NuBowWow's monthly presentation, sponsored by the Puppy Starter Kit. Makes puppy parenting easier. If you're getting a puppy or know someone who is, the Puppy Starter Kit makes a great gift. Or donate a kit to your local shelter. To order yours, go to NuBowWow.com, NuBowWow.com. Go to the Puppy Starter Kit tab at the top of the home page, and then click on the Puppy Starter Kit. It's that easy. Now I'd like to welcome Linda Schiller, President and founder of the 11th Hour Rescue in Randolph, New Jersey. Tonight's topic is everything you need to know about adopting a puppy. Linda, thank you so much for being with us, and I'm excited to hear your story. Go right ahead.
Thanks, Ellen. It's nice to be here and nice to be able to share some of my experiences and some happy stories and a little bit of history about how 11th Hour came to be. And now, to all of you listening out there, I had warned Ellen previously that I'm not comfortable talking about myself, but boy, you get me talking about 11th Hour, and I can go on and on. So I'm going to just briefly tell you a little bit about how 11th Hour got started and how I got started in rescue. I took a position with a company in Elizabeth, New Jersey, in a very tough neighborhood, bad inner city area, and I was shocked when I first started working there to seeing packs of dogs running the streets. I had come from a neighborhood where everybody was respectful of the leash laws and you never saw dogs running at large. And it used to concern me to see all these strays, and I remember the day everything changed for me, where I came out of the office and there was a mutt, but high German Shepherd mix, skin and bones, filthy dirty, in the middle of the street, drinking water out of a pothole that had an oil slick on top of it, and my heart broke for this dog. And I said, I can sit there and feel badly about the situation, and or I could try to do something. And I went and tried to get some food for the dog, and I started carrying dog food and water, leashes in my car, and started rescuing these strays off the street one at a time. And at the time, I was just one person trying to do something. And I met some people down the road who were like-minded and would help occasionally, taking in a dog or foster. And the life-changing instance was the day I opened up an email, and someone had the nerve to send me this email on a Monday, and all these dogs in this email were going to die on Wednesday. And I made the mistake of scrolling down and looking at the pictures. And there were all these gorgeous, fuzzy puppies, beautiful, highly adoptable dogs. Everyone was beautiful and gorgeous, and I knew if I had them at my home with my friends, we could get them placed easily. And I went to my boss that day, and I said to him, I have to work on something for a couple of days. I'm going to take vacation. I'm going to be here in the office in case you need me to answer questions, but I have to work on something. And I'd like to use your computers and your phones. And he asked me what I was doing, and I brought him over and brought him to my computer screen. These dogs are dying on Wednesday. And he asked me where they were, and I said, they're in Georgia. He asked me who I knew in Georgia, and I said, no one. It seems like an impossible task. Here it is Monday morning, 9 o'clock, and I have till 8 o'clock on Wednesday to save all these dogs. I got friends involved, and I started calling and emailing. And I remember calling this shelter. And the gentleman in the shelter answered, and he was a little abrupt, and I said, do you adopt dogs out of state? No, ma'am, I don't. Slams down the phone. I called back, and I asked, I said, do you adopt to out-of-state rescues? And he said, please don't hang up on me. I have a couple of questions. And he relented, and he did say, well, yes, I'll spend a little time with you on the phone, but we do not adopt to out-of-state rescues. And I said, well, I'm trying to help some of these dogs that are on your euthanasia list for Wednesday, and I'm trying to find out what I need to do to get that done. And he says, well, you need to be licensed in the state of Georgia with the Department of Agriculture. And
Small
only
problem,
a license,
right?
Yeah, no problem on a Monday. so anyway, I'm at my wit's end on what to do here. And I said, now, how do you get that license? And he said, well, you have to apply for the license, and you have to be a licensed rescue in the state of Georgia. Well, now I'm feeling a little lost, and he lowers his voice, and he says, well, even though you don't have a license, I wouldn't know if someone let you use their license. And then that was my window. That was my opportunity. So I started working on finding someone who had a license in the state of Georgia that would help me. And a friend of mine who lived out on the West Coast, we were working on this all day. And I'm trying to find fosters and trying to find someone who will help me get these animals. In the meantime, I am calling the shelter every few hours to see how many animals are on the euthanasia list and how many have gotten adopted, how many have gotten out by rescue. And I believe the number was over 20 on Monday morning. And I believe when I called on Monday night, 4 or 5 had gotten out of the shelter. So our numbers were down on the ones that we had to work on getting out safely on Wednesday. I had put out 1 million emails, joined a bunch of rescue groups online, and tried to just get some contacts. I had friends working on it. When I went to bed at night, my friend out on the West Coast was sending emails out on my behalf and making phone calls and trying to continue to try to find that contact. We had our breakthrough on Tuesday morning. He called me at the crack of dawn, told me he had made contact overnight with someone. She had a Department of Ag license, but was uncomfortable using it without knowing the person, and I had one shot to talk to her and convince her that I was going to abide by the rules and regulations, get all the dogs spayed and neutered. And this woman was an old-school, old-time rescuer, and she put me through the ringer. But at the end of an hour and a half, she allowed me to use her license. So I was so excited that I had my first step. I knew now that I could get them out of the shelter. Then I had to find a place to put them.
Linda, do you stay in touch with her?
I have until, unfortunately, she passed away a couple years ago, but we had been in touch for, and actually I had taken dogs from her over the years. She was
pretty impressed with what you accomplished.
Yes, and I think she was, and I think she was instrumental in saving these dogs. Without her, I would not have had that opportunity. She was a wonderful, wonderful woman. But Tuesday morning, now we're working on finding a place to put the dogs after they come out of the shelter. I have homes now, foster homes, including myself, for 9 dogs. So I knew I could take at least 9. And I figured I would find a way to get them to us at some point, but the most immediate concern was getting them to a vet to get them vetted, make sure they were healthy, and find some place to board them for a couple weeks. And then to move them, that would give us a couple weeks to work on trying to figure out transport to get them to us. In the meantime, my boss, who's being very patient through all this, comes into my office on Tuesday and says, how much longer are you going to be doing this? I really need you, and I need your help with some things. And I said, well, I am very close to finishing this up, and I think I'm going to be able to save almost all of them. And
wow.
He looked at me and he said, what do you mean almost all of them? And I said, well, I don't have foster homes for everybody. I said, right now, according to the shelter, I need 3 more. I need a space for 3 more. And he looked at me and he said, how can you play God? How can you decide? And I said, I can't. This is like the hardest decision to make, like who lives and who dies. And I'm beside myself, and I'm just praying that maybe these last few get out. And he walked out of my office, paused, came back, and he said, let me see the pictures again. And I showed him the pictures on my computer screen.
That was his undoing.
It is. And he said to me, my God, and he's sighing and pacing. My wife is going to kill me, but if you get stuck, I will take them and foster them, but it's short term, very short term. Just don't let anybody die.
Terrific.
It was a gift. By Tuesday night, I had found a vet who would take them in and board them for me. Not much of a discount, unfortunately, but I found a place that could take up to 12 dogs. And on Wednesday morning, I called the shelter and asked how many were left. And I believe they said there was still a dozen that needed to get out. And I said the words that changed my life. I said, we will take them all. And he said, and the gentleman on the other end of the line was, excuse me? Yes, we'll take them all. And I gave them instructions on where they had to go and asked if they could do me the one favor and transport them to the vets, and they were agreeable to do that. And the next day, I got an email from one of the gals who was there when the call came in, and she was thanking me for taking these dogs and had said that they had not had a day where everyone got out alive since she'd been there. And it was the very first time that every dog got out alive and they didn't have to kill anyone. And, I always cry. And she said, I wish you could have been there when your call came in to see and hear how everyone reacted. People were crying and hugging and high-fiving and so thrilled that they finally had a day where no one had to die.
Yeah, Linda, I don't know. There's 2 parts of your story that always get to me. It's that part, which I think is just unbelievable, and your boss. Those are my 2 favorite parts of the story. It's phenomenal.
It is. It was amazing, and I never even considered what we were doing for the people who worked at the shelter. I was just focused on the dogs, but we gave them a little peace and a little hope, and, I think that, that's part of what you do with rescue, too. You try to help the volunteers and the people at the kill shelters, and that's how 11th Hour came about. We rescued these dogs at the 11th hour, and to get them to us, I had 2 friends and we had three of us with SUVs loaded with crates, and we found a girl who was willing to rent a van and drive the dogs to North Carolina. The three of us met her there, transferred the dogs to us, and drove them up to New Jersey. And I remember getting into New Jersey, and we had walkie-talkies. I was saying to the other girls, I said, can we just stop by my office so I can do the payroll this morning on the way to bring them to the different homes for fosters? And we're crazy. We didn't know what we were doing. We were naive, and we got to my place of business, and my boss, I said, I'm here to do the payroll. And he didn't expect me that day because I had taken vacation time to go get these dogs, and he was thrilled I was there. And I said, I have the dogs outside, and he said, well, bring them in. Well, we just let all 12 dogs loose in the office. They're running up down the stairs into offices, and I said, we never even considered that some dogs may not get along. We got very lucky with that one, and and then we got everybody into foster, and eventually got everyone placed, and that's it started the very beginnings. And from that,
Linda, that's a terrific story. When you shared that with me, I really had to bring it. I was thinking in the back of my mind that you would be a great story to tell on our monthly presentation. So I appreciate that. Great. Did you want to move into? Were you through with that part, and you want to move into how to pick a shelter, or?
Sure.
Okay.
There's a couple of things to be careful of, and as in any profession, you're going to have good and bad in any profession, even in rescues and not-for-profits. And some of the kill shelters, we have high kill, low kill, no kill, and your rescues. Some of the things to be cautious of, and I have heard of rescues, people who have gotten their 501c3 who are a little better than a puppy mill, that they do, they're not really rescuing dogs. They're really running a business, and they don't vet their dogs properly. Be very cautious of anybody who asks you for money up front without you meeting the dog. A woman contacted me. She had seen a dog online out of state, and they had said they transport the dogs to you. They had asked her for $400. She made the mistake of sending it to them, and then was told that the dog that she had been interested in was sick. And there was one excuse after the other why that particular dog couldn't come to her. And then she couldn't track down the person at some point. They disbanded, and the woman never found out what happened to that puppy, and she lost her money. So like anything else, do your due diligence, get some references. Going on to Pet Finder is a good way to look for reputable rescues. But again, make sure you do due diligence, and if you want some references, ask them for vet references, or if their local animal control officer would be willing to give them a reference. City shelters and that manage large populations, there are wonderful dogs in these shelters, and they need help as well as the rescue dogs. Just be careful with the vetting. Most shelters will give dogs at least their basic shots, and ask questions about the health. Is there, have they had any upper respiratory illnesses in the kennel? Have they had any kennel cough that they're aware of? ask for vet records.
Lynn, let me ask you, if I were to walk into a shelter, okay, and these are all great questions. When you say vetting, you're referring to the veterinarian care that a puppy's gotten, right?
Right. If you're adults and puppies, at the very least, should have their shots. Puppies need to be dewormed.
Okay.
So, if we're talking puppies, minimum, they should have, if they're old enough, they should have their puppy shots and definitely be dewormed. That'll prevent a lot of health issues. When we get our puppies in, we'd like them, before they get adopted, to at least have 2 rounds of puppy shots. They're dewormed. You can never guarantee 100% for sure that they're not going to get sick or get some type of illness, but you try to do your best to give them the proper care and prevent that.
Do they give you like documentation that the puppy's gotten shots?
Yes. We administer our shots once the puppies come up to us. We put them in, before we take them into our rescue, we will put them at a vet's office for 2 weeks in quarantine. They get their shots, they get dewormed, they get checked for fleas and any kind of parasites. We try to be as diligent as we can with any dogs, adults or puppies, coming into our organization. A lot of our dogs end up in foster homes, and all of our puppies go into foster homes. And I certainly don't want one of our foster homes getting dogs that are sick and putting perhaps their own dogs in jeopardy. So we're very diligent about the vetting. And there are other great rescues and organizations out there who are very diligent and do, about the vetting that they're doing for their animals too. So you're just ask the questions, make sure if you're looking for a puppy, talk to your vet, ask them, what shots he recommends, how often do they need to be dewormed. Just get some information. You can even look online, and there's a lot of information available and know what questions to ask. How many rounds of shots have the dogs had? Have they had 1 round, 2 rounds, 3 rounds? Do they know
is any of this on your website? Would that be a place to go to?
Actually, no, but the ASPCA has that, and Pet Finder has that information also on their website.
Great. Okay. Perfect.
Yeah. And it's important. And so the most important thing, I think, is to make sure that the dog appears healthy and has had the proper vetting. The shelter conditions are important but secondary. There are crowded shelter conditions. As I said, just be careful. Ask if there's been any infectious illnesses going through the kennel. If you're dealing with a rescue, the puppies are probably going to be in foster homes, so that's not a concern. When you're looking at the puppy, you want to see, if you see a puppy that's a little lethargic, that might be an indication that he's not feeling well, and, do your own due diligence and ask the proper questions.
Okay. And when you say ask the proper questions, you're saying, have they had their shots?
Right.
Can we see the documentation? Have they been sick? That kind of a thing.
Right. And also, you want to make sure that if you're dealing with a rescue, that they're a rescue that will stand behind their dogs. I know with our policy is we will take our dog back whenever. If you adopted a dog from us and your lifestyle changes, you you have children that are allergic, and you had the dog prior to that, and for one reason or another you can't keep them, we want that dog back, whether the dog is 6 months old or 6 years old. You also want to find someone who will allow you a grace period. You adopt the dog, give me, if it doesn't work out in 2-3 weeks, you get your money back. Any reputable rescue will offer that.
Lynn, what is that? What is that fee? And what's the fee, and is that typical for?
Well, our fee for this area, I think this is probably low for a puppy, but we charge $250.
Okay.
And we ask for $250 plus $100 deposit, which is a spay-neuter deposit if the dog isn't spayed or neutered. It's refundable deposit once we have proof that the dog has been spayed or neutered.
Okay.
You get that $100 refunded. And we do pay for the spay and neuter. We use a clinic in Hillside People for Animals. And, if someone adopting from us, if they want to go to their own vet and not use the clinic, we will reimburse them what it would have cost us at our clinic.
Okay, so basically, there's a $250 fee plus a $100 deposit on spay and neuter?
Right, and then, as I said, they get the $100 back once the dog is spayed and neutered. It's just an incentive to try to make sure that people are going to adhere to the conditions of the contract they sign, which is, if the puppy is under 6 months, we can't spay and neuter them, or it's dangerous to do pediatric, but...
I think that's an excellent way to do that. Yep, that's definitely an incentive.
Yes, and we're finding that people do get them spayed and neutered, but they weren't telling us, and that was a lot of follow-up work for us, trying to follow up on all these puppies going out there. And
there's a $100 tag on it. I'm sure people will be a little more.
Yeah, that's a lot of puppy chow.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a quick question for you. Just to back up, you talked about no kill, low kill, and high kill. Could you just sort of explain the difference? I think one of the things that I've found to be pretty interesting is that there are a major difference in shelters and their philosophy.
Right, and there are shelters, and it depends on the management, that are what we consider high kill. That is the way they manage the population coming in.
Is there a certain, when you say these three different categories, is there a certain percentage, like say if they're categorized as high kill, then they kill 75% of their animals?
I don't know. For me, I would say that high kill, my standards are probably a little bit different. If you're killing 50% or more of your population, to me that would be a high kill, but that is my standards only.
Okay.
But I know that there are shelters out there that send us pleas that are looking for help from the rescue population, the rescue groups, and asking to help reduce their high kill status. Some of the shelters we work with at one point had a 90% or greater kill rate, and that's just unacceptable. That there are wonderful animals like your Yogi and my Martha who are ending up in these shelters and are being killed just because of space, not because of temperament or illness, but because of lack of space. And I found some shelters that are not concerned with saving lives. It's just easier to manage the population through euthanasia, and they don't work that. If they happen to get dogs out, they get them out, but they don't work it. And then you'll work with a shelter where everyone is trying so hard every week to save as many as they can. So it's different philosophies, different management style.
And no-kill, no-kill is like, I think it's like 92% of they save 92% or 98. I forget what the stats are on that. But that's about what you're looking for is a no-kill facility, right?
Right. I mean, and not to say not to help the kill facilities, that the dogs there need to get out. But you want to try to find somebody who is going to at least give them the basic vetting, and that's sometimes a deterrent in some of these high kill facilities where they don't do a lot of vetting because they're just expecting the dogs not to make it, and they don't want to invest that type of money into.
Well, that's certainly
expendable.
Exactly. This is certainly a topic that I know you and I both feel strongly about, but just for the sake of time, I guess let's move on to how to pick a puppy.
Okay, first, again, just make sure that whoever you're getting the dog from, whether it's a rescuer, shelter, or breeder, that the puppy is healthy, that has had its basic vetting done. And you want to find a puppy that's going to suit your lifestyle. If you're a couch potato and you're looking at a Marley and Me high-energy lab, you're probably not going to be happy when that puppy becomes a teenager. It's not necessarily breed, but that is something to take into consideration when you're looking at a litter. If you see, again, if you're someone who likes to go jogging and you see a dog that's very active and very playful, that's probably going to be a good pick for you, not the one who's in the back in the corner and shy and kind of quiet. It's difficult with puppies to know temperament and personality, not like you can with an adolescent or an adult, but you can just look at the basic, who is acting dominant, who is acting fearful or shy or quiet. You can see a dog has a little bit of confidence. Now, if you're working with a foster home, the fosters should be able to give you a lot of insight into the puppy's personalities. They've helped raise them. They've seen them develop. A good foster will be able to tell you this is going to be the right one for you, and you might, a lot of people disregard that because they fall in love with the face, but you really should take that type of advice into consideration when someone steers you in the right direction, and you find that, great, he wasn't my first choice. He wasn't the little fluffy one that I wanted. He's, the little short coat, but he's my temperament. He's the right temperament. I think that people get swayed by looks and fall in love with a face. And you really need to think that this is hopefully a 15-year commitment. And the important thing after adopting these puppies is to make sure when you do adopt that you have the time for them. It's like raising a kid. You need to have time to train them, housebreak them, and the time you spend in those first few months with the dog, with your new family member, the more time you can devote to them, the easier life will be down the road.
Let me ask you, is that one of what would you say is the most common reason that people return a dog?
Well, the most common reason, and it's not with the puppies normally, but the returning dog is they're moving.
Okay.
And I have to wonder what state in the union doesn't let you bring a dog. And when people say I'm moving, no, I can't take my dog. Where are you moving to? But in this economy, things have changed. You know, we have a lot of people now who are giving up their dogs because of they've lost their jobs and their homes have gone into foreclosure, or they've moved in with family and they can't take the pet.
Well, Lynn, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let me ask you. So, if I come and I get a puppy from your shelter, I'm sorry about that. What would be? Hang on, just 1 second. I apologize. Sorry about that, gang. So, if I come and I get a puppy from your shelter, and then, you know, is still the most common reason is I'm going to turn around and say that I was moving, or I didn't know that?
No, puppies are different. So the most common reason overall, in general, is people moving. For puppies, it's you can't housebreak him, chewing. I think a lot of it is you know, people not knowing what they're getting themselves into. It's a commitment on time. You know, it's a commitment on training. A lot of people don't want to be the tough guy. Well, puppies need boundaries and rules, and you'll be happier giving them some guidance and training initially. It's a lot easier to do that when they're 8, 10, 12 weeks old, and then trying to correct bad habits 6 months down the road. We do, you know, have trainers that we work with, and we do recommend, you know, taking the puppies and getting them socialized in puppy classes that are available, and we'll help you find the appropriate classes to get them and you trained.
You know,
and your tip would help them tremendously too. Get them on the right track.
Right. Well, and if people go home with a puppy starter kit, their chances of success are much greater, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, listen, to segue into the next question, what to expect from an adopted rescue dog or puppy. And I think that you started to touch on that a little bit when you were talking about some of the resources that you make available for new puppy or dog owners. Is you have a trainer on staff, and so
right.
as a new adoptee, a new puppy mom or doggy mom, what are some of the things that you offer at the 11th hour to help me, you know, be successful?
Okay, we do recommend trainers to work with you. We have a couple of trainers that work with us that will give you an initial consult and help identify what the problems might be that you're having in the home. You know, some people have a problem where the dog is reactive to someone knocking at the front door. And how do you change that behavior? You don't want the dog, you know, barking and growling at Aunt Mary when she comes through the door, and these trainers can help you with that. We have trainers who will that volunteer with us. They are volunteers, but they will call up with any problem and discuss it, and they'll offer suggestions. We always recommend training on a formal basis with some of the local trainers that we work with that offer basic obedience classes. I find that many of the times it's not necessarily the dog's fault, that the new owners don't know some of the little tricks of the trade and how to handle the puppy or handle their new adopted dog. We've had things where I've had dogs that I fostered that have been beautiful in the home, no accidents, respectful, because I've given them their boundaries and they know what they can and can't do. And they get into a new home, and I'm getting a phone call a couple of weeks later that the dog is exhibiting behavior I've never seen. And, well, he's up on the couch, and I can't get him off, and he growls at me when I go to do that. Well, I've never let him out on the couch. Or he knows to go out at 6 a.m. and do his business, and because I put him on a schedule. A lot of times it's the new owners not giving the dog the proper signals, or spoiling them when they first come home and then expecting them to be obedient and learn when they think it's appropriate. Well, if you've let the dog on the couch and that you don't want the dog on the couch when company comes and he gets up there, you can't blame him. He's learned that behavior from you.
Right.
So I think that our trainers are awesome where they get on the phone, walk people through some of the problems, but many times these same people just need a little bit more. They need to get into formal classes where they train you how to train your pet. And I think that's very helpful.
Yeah, as a new puppy mom just a couple of years ago, I really found that, some just basic stuff was, some basic training tips was extremely helpful. And I think one of the things, too, was, train the trainer. Yogi's not going to think like me. I have to learn to think like him. So it was just sort of, some basic principles that really were a huge difference. So that's great that you're that you've got trainers that are willing to, talk with people and sort of get them on the right track.
Yeah, and then these, we're always hoping that, these are lifelong companions, and that if we can give people the support going in, that they'll make that commitment. And I can tell you from my own experience that working with these animals, if you give them your time in the beginning and just work with them, you're going to be rewarded down the road. You're not going to have, dogs with, terrible issues and now that are, what was cute before when the dog grabbed your slippers and ran with it, now he's eating your work shoes. It's not so funny, so.
No, it isn't. Well, listen, that leads us to our last topic, and then we have a couple questions that I'd like to get to as well. Is if you were so inclined, how can somebody help a local shelter?
I can tell you that we're always looking for volunteers. It's a wonderful way to meet some fellow animal lovers and help save some lives. Fosters, anytime you have a foster, I always say one foster home is worth its weight in gold for a number of reasons. It allows us to save another life, and we have our kennel, and our dogs at the kennel are spoiled, but it is nothing like being in a home. The home environment is the best. And financially, we're not for profit. We do fundraising and beg and borrow and do whatever we have to raise funds to keep our organization going. And I have to say that 11th Hour is extremely lucky because we have the best volunteers on the planet. These people at 11th Hour have big hearts. They're compassionate. They're caring. They donate so much of their time and give every 100% to every endeavor they do for the animals, and their commitment and dedication is just amazing. I've never met a more wonderful group of people, and I'm proud to be associated with them. So, if you want to come and join a great group, we're looking for help, and if we're out of your area or there's another group you're interested in, please just look. There's in every community there's a rescue or there's a shelter, and you'll be doing it for the animals, and it'll feel good to make that difference.
Linda, if they wanted to get in touch with you, how would they do that? Through your website, maybe a phone number?
Yeah, sure. You can go to our website, and that is www.ehrdogs.org. And all the information is there. You can see our wonderful dogs for adoption. You can see what events we have coming up and what kind of opportunities we have for fostering, volunteering. If you volunteer, some people like to go to adoption events and handle the dogs. Other people like to go to the kennel and work with the dogs at the kennel. Some people like to do fundraising. Whatever you're interested in, there's opportunities there, and it feels good to help. And as I said, our volunteers 973-664-0865.
Good. I have a couple questions for you that came in.
Okay.
Let's see. The shelters take volunteers. You answered that. How old do kids, teenagers need to be to volunteer?
We have a junior volunteer program, and they can be just about any age. We can't let them handle all the dogs if you have little ones, but we do things with the kids to get them involved and excited about helping the community. We have play dates at the kennel where they can play with some of the dogs. We help them with fundraising. They help us with fundraising. We have a great volunteer, Jackie Zigman, who heads up our junior volunteers, and she does a lot where she goes to the schools in town and in Morris County. She also does meet and greets, we call it, at the kennel with Girl Scout troops, juniors, grammar school children coming who want to come and help. We've had classes where a fifth grade class will raise donations for us, get donations of food or bowls, and come to the kennel and deliver them and get to volunteer for the day.
Now I know why I can never get you on the phone. You're a busy woman. You've got a lot going on. Okay, another question. Do shelters get special prices from vets if an adopted puppy or dog is sick?
Sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. We work with a few vets that do give us a discount, and we've had to go through a lot. Some vets will not. They're not what we call rescue friendly, but we found a few vets who are very capable and competent and offer us a discount on some of their services, and we are certainly thankful for anything that they can do on our behalf. Funds are tight, and we want to make sure our dogs are properly taken care of.
Okay.
So it's a big help.
Okay. Okay. What are important things to be aware of when bringing new puppy or dogs home from a shelter? How should I prepare in advance?
Okay. If you have an area where you can contain the dog initially, especially with the puppy. You don't want the puppy having full run of the house if he's not going to be supervised. If you had a baby, you wouldn't let him alone in the house unsupervised. And then your new four-legged baby needs the same kind of consideration. Crate training is also a good tool to use when you're trying to housebreak. It's a lot of people are concerned about putting them in a crate, and it's only a temporary solution. I think that it makes housebreaking a lot easier. and hopefully in time you would have enough confidence in your new puppy and know that he's well on his way to housebreaking to let him have full run of the house. But again, it's like having a kid. You know, you give them as much responsibility as they can handle. This puppy is not going to be ready to be self-sufficient without some work on your part initially. So you make sure that you're prepared for that. And patience. You need some patience in the beginning. And,
lots and lots of patience.
Lots of patience. And you don't know, teaching him what it is. His toys are appropriate to chew, but your shoes aren't. You know, it's a lot of work. But it's well worth it.
I would absolutely agree with you there, Linda. Okay, another question. I've heard stories from friends about adopted dogs, puppies that they brought home that ended up being really sick or had personality issues. How can this be avoided? I think you sort of touched on it earlier. Is there anything that you want to add to that?
You can do that. Everybody in a rescue situation, I believe, would try to do the best they can as far as vetting for their animals. I know that it's happened to us. We've had dogs or puppies that we have vetted, and we thought that we were sending home a healthy, happy dog. And occasionally a dog will get sick. We do take them back and vet them, and make sure that it's something that we will not overlook in the future if there was something. And it just makes us better every time we get into one of these situations. But we've been pretty fortunate that 90% of the dogs that we have do not have any ongoing health issues. Some of the puppies have had problems going out, but we find that a lot of times the new parents are overreacting. The change in environment, change in food. The dog is a little lethargic, and they're running to the vets immediately. And we ask them to please call us, because in the beginning we can hold your hand and tell you when we think this is something that is a true vetting emergency, or it's just a situational problem that they're just adjusting to the new home and the new environment. A lot of these animals have been through a lot of changes, and they just need a few days to settle in.
Right. Okay. Well, listen, I want to thank everybody for all the great questions that you sent in. I think during most of your presentation, Lynn, you answered most of them. Is there anything that you would like to add, to speak to a future, adopters of puppies? Anything that we didn't cover?
I think we covered almost anything that I could think of, but the one thing I just want to reiterate is please just have a little patience, and please consider training, and there's a lot of great tools out there. Ellen's Kit is a great way to start, and if you take the time, just remember, it's a work in progress. If you take the time initially, you will have the companion of a lifetime. You'll have 15 or more wonderful years. If you don't take the time, you're going to regret it. And the last thing we want to see is this baby, an unhappy dog, an unhappy family, and dogs getting returned. So, please, when you make this decision to adopt, realize that it's for life.
Super, Linda. This has just been terrific. I loved your story the first time I heard it. I liked it just as much the second time, and I think there's been a lot of useful information. Again, as a new puppy mom myself a few years ago, this is just terrific information. So, I want to thank you for your time this evening, and please, if anybody's looking to volunteer, foster, donate some, financially, please look to 11th Hour and touch base with Linda. Thank you. Thanks, Linda.
Thank you, Ellen. Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.